Hey, what's going on, guys? Today, we're looking at One Piece Chapter 1066, Will of Ohara. Now, unfortunately, due to happenly fantastic circumstances, this is a re-record. So, yeah, I'm losing my mind. Anyway, so cover story: German double six. They do their thing and escape. All right, Caesar Clown. Yep, they all bail. Not gonna lie, I kind of hope they show up this arc, because if there was ever a time for them to show up, it should probably be when they're meeting Vegapunk, who's the science guy, and this is the evil science team. So yeah, pretty good idea. Anywho, we cut to the B team consisting of Robin, Nami, Usopp, Frankie, and Sanji. Why'd I say Robin first? Well, that's because this is kind of Robin's chapter. Pretty much, because it's about the will of Ohara. So, they're being talked to by Vegapunk about, the Void Century and more just Vegapunk confirming stuff. And then we get hit with these classic poses, which you might notice because these exact poses are struck all the time by the Straw Hats. I guarantee you, Nami's face right here, straight up, is always, let me repeat that, always like this. In every arc, you can find a panel where her face is covered by her two hands clapped together. Every single arc. It's the Nami pose at this point. Anyway, so Robin and Vegapunk continue to briefly exchange stuff, and then we find out about Dr. Clover. And actually, as it turns out, he was a pretty chill dude. And he won the respects of literally like everyone around him. And hell, even people who weren't around him, as we'll find out soon. Also, I'm bringing this up now. I called it, you punks. Back when I was back in the day, when I was watching through One Piece, when I was a beginning fan, Water 7 rolls around. Really good. We get introduced to Robin's past. Enies Lobby, we get introduced to the Robin flashback. I sit through it and I'm like, okay, good. And then, I hear them go, throw the books in the lake. And I'm thinking like, oh, the Ancient Kingdom must be important later, right? A, I was right about that, but that was pretty obvious. But B, I also predicted that they were going to be thrown in the water. That was my big brain play, and that was how they were going to survive. Now, you may not believe me, but I don't need your recognition for it, because I feel so happy about that I'm going to make another prediction at the end of the chapter. Make sure to stay tuned for that. Anyway, so as the flashback continues, we find out a little bit more about what happened. And we once again get to see Olivia and Saul. And Saul is very important because he lives. He's alive. That's not the greatest, but that's okay, we live with it. Anyway, so Robin's crying, and, all the Straw Hats are kind of pointing that out, which kind of makes her, like, shuffle the tears away, because she's not too emotional around the crew too often. Like, you can really see it. She tries to keep herself pretty reserved, but this obviously gets to her because tragic anime backstory makes people cry. That's just how it works. Yeah, it's the number one law. Anywho, we actually get little brief hints of Vegapunk's true design, like Vegapunk's main body. And then we see, as he's going to Ohara, because he took a little trip there, the Giants are taking the books and pulling them out and bringing them to Elbaf. So Elbaf is very plot relevant now, and they kind of have to go to it no matter what. And then a certain someone shows up to confront Vegapunk. And it's Dragon. Not just any dragon, it's 33-year-old Dragon. So, I believe he's in his 40s now. So, in like 10 years, Dragon, basically chilled out. But also, he got his army got a lot stronger, because the information that we gathered from his interactions with Vegapunk were about how A, he has no money at all, he's broke, and B, he's never going to be able to stand up to the Navy. And he actually brings up that he wants to change the world. Now this caught me a little off guard, because if, by the way, film red spoilers right now, so skip ahead a good little bit. Luffy says that he wants to create a new era when Ulti is like, I'm creating a new era, what are you doing? And he's like, same as you. So yeah, Dragon and Luffy both plan on changing the future, which is pretty crazy. Granted, we have no idea what that means for either of them. Like with Dragon, we can probably guess that they're, gonna take down the Gorosei and all that jazz. But let's face it, it's probably gonna be Luffy's job anyway. It's hard to gauge what Dragon's role is, especially since we don't know Dragon's power. Like, we know Sabo is around Admiral level, probably a little bit above, just because he was able to get out of there. And I'm sorry, but those commanders, there's no way those commanders were able to handle Green Bull. Like, I'm sorry, I cannot picture that. But anywho, enough about Sabo and his few good men. So we find out that, as I stated earlier, Dragon's broke, Dragon's all that. And then Kuma and Ivankov both join, and we're some of the founding members, and then basically it's an army now, and crazy. Like no tomorrow. Anywho, so Vegapunk decides to kidnap them, as he already has kidnapped them, but he's re-kidnapping them after putting them through an emotional story time to find out more about books. Anywho, we cut to the big robot and Luffy, Chopper, Bonnie, and Jinbei. And to be honest, at this point, Bonnie just kind of feels like one of the crew. Like, she does give off that vibe. So we have another case of Law, or we have another potential Straw Hat, maybe, just to rub salt in the wound of Yamato. Anywho, so yeah, they're all talking about it, and then we get introduced to the guy, in his full old man design, and it's Vegapunk. And he obviously looks a lot like Einstein. That's what you'll notice, like a one-piece version of Einstein. But now here's my crazy theory. So you know how he had that massive head, the world's biggest head or whatever? My theory is that he took parts of his brain and put it into each of those robots, but because his head is so massive, he could have different segments. Because if you don't know, parts of your brain control different functions, so he probably took the large chunks of them and put them in the robots or bodies or whatever to create the 6 paths of Vegapunk. Also, yes, I'm calling it that, and that is the only proper way to call it. It's not the 6 Vegapunks, it's the 6 paths of Vegapunks. I'm sorry, we are going with pain here, okay? If you don't like it, you can get Chibaku Tensei on your run. That is your fault. Anywho, so yeah, good. Also, no break, I think. So that's also good. And pretty crazy chapter. So if I were to give this a score, I'd probably give it a solid 8 out of 10. Yeah, that's right. Saul being alive is honestly a bigger problem than what I made it out to be, but what can you really do? You just sort of learn the role of things at this point. But, question. I didn't bring this up too much, but I haven't been craving the designs this arc too much. Like, the designs are not as on point for just me personally. So I want to know, what do you guys think of the designs, and what's your take on all this? Like, do you think the designs are like the same as always, or do you think they're a step below? Make sure to tell me in the comments below. And while you're there, you might as well subscribe, right? So, now that I've shamelessly plugged, I'll see you guys later.